Hey there, you know who I am. It's Paul in the Fields, and I'm here to talk to you about something a little different today. There are some cigar brands that are quality cigars, and for some reason they just don't get a fair shake amongst consumers or in the industry. You sort of dismiss them. You don't think about them a whole lot, and sometimes there are cigars in those lines that are really special and a real find if you know where to look and if you find them. I'll give you an example. Here's a brand. You've probably heard of it before. It's called Vega Fina. And Vega Fina is a brand made by Altadis, the same folks that bring you Romeo and Monte Cristo, and they bring you Trinidad and H. Upmann and a whole world of other cigar brands. Vega Fina has always been kind of their price value sort of line, a little bit less expensive, a little bit simpler in packaging, kind of straightforward. But in the mix, where you probably have never heard of it or thought about it, is a very, very special cigar. Specifically, it's the Vega Fina SUMUM. I guess that once again fits in the category of cigars with strange names that I don't really understand. The full name is the SUMUM Edición Especial from 2010. But let me tell you a little bit about the cigar. First of all, the wrapper is one of my favorite categories of wrappers in the business. Specifically, it is an Ecuador Habano. Excuse me while I sneeze. It's an Ecuador Habano. It's on the dark side, a little bit veiny, definitely oily, as you can see. Really something special. And that's the cigar. The part of why I like this cigar as much as I do is that the binder is a Connecticut broadleaf. Connecticut broadleaf is a different sort of tobacco. It's not like the Connecticut shade grown that you probably know very well. Broadleaf is a different kind of plant. The leaves are shorter and broader, hence the name broadleaf. The plant grows lower to the ground, unlike the 6 or 7 foot tall beauties that we're used to. And it's a very thick, oily, robust kind of tobacco. In fact, in most years, Connecticut broadleaf is, most of it is processed as a Maduro, and it is the Maduro of choice in most of the cigar industry. In this case, it's being used as a binder, which means you don't get to see it, but you do get to taste it, and it burns beautifully. The filler is also a really interesting combination. There's some Nicaraguan, there's some Dominican, and there's Peruvian, which typically has a tremendous kick to it. So you've got a cigar with a really interesting blend, and with any luck, a whole lot of interesting flavor too. I'm going to do my typical thing. I'm going to take one of the 2 bands off, leave one on for the moment, and as you can see, I'm going to just nip the tip with my teeth because that's my cutter of choice. Because of the Ecuador Habano wrapper, there's immediate peppery spiciness to it before you even light up, before you draw, before you do anything. That makes me happy. By the way, I mentioned that Vega Fina is typically sort of a value-oriented brand within the Altadis lineup. Just to give you a point of reference, this is a Robusto. It's a 5x54. It's under $7. It's reasonably priced. It's not cheap, but it's reasonably priced. And the line goes all the way up from the Robusto to a 6x60, and they're all equally comfortably priced. Enough talk, time to smoke. cigar is firmly constructed. It's the kind of firm cigar that you might expect would have a tight draw, but the draw is terrific. The spiciness of the Ecuador Habano comes right through. It's right in your face. It's not overbearing. There's a little bit of creaminess to it. As I like to say, the cigar is not stingy with smoke. Needless to say, this cigar is available in all 9 Cigar Cigars locations. So you can go to our website, cccigars.com, and you can find your nearest location. And if this Vega Fina SUMUM, I don't know, I hate that name, this Vega Fina SUMUM, if you want to check it out, it's there. And as I mentioned, it's very, very comfortably priced. In keeping with your requests, now that I've had a little taste of this cigar, by the way, I should show you I showed you the box, and I'm losing it. This is a good cigar. If you didn't know the blend and you were just thinking Vega Fina, you might expect it to be super mild without a ton of flavor. You would be very pleasantly surprised by this cigar, which is smooth, definitely creamy, but not mild. Lots and lots of flavor. Somehow, Ecuadorian wrappers never disappoint me. Maybe that's because I've grown them for a long time down in Ecuador. I'm very partial to them. I know what you can do with them. But I also really think using a leaf that's more typically used as a wrapper, that Connecticut broadleaf, as a binder, really adds some complexity and richness to the flavor of this. The Peruvian is there to give you some power, and the Nicaraguan and Dominican just add more layers of flavor. There are a lot of flavors. This is the kind of cigar that really covers the better part of your palate. It sort of coats the whole thing with different flavors going on in different spots within your palate. So at the front of the tongue you get that pepperiness. Across the middle is all cream, and there's just flavor. I don't even know what to call it. There's just flavor over the rest of your palate. Now, in keeping with our with your suggestion to me, what I'm going to do now is go off and smoke for a while and come back when I'm farther into the cigar, and that way we can sort of discuss what happens to it as it goes. So I'll be back in a bit. Sit tight. If you're smoking, keep on smoking. If you're not smoking, ha ha ha, I bet you wish you were. All right, I'll see you in a few. Well, I'm back. I'm still enjoying this cigar a great deal. Now that I'm farther into it, I can point out something interesting about this cigar. You know how some cigars are very complex and the flavor just keeps changing every time you puff on it? This is a cigar that's complex in that there are a lot of different flavors from the get-go, and it stays that way. So the cigar doesn't seem to change much, but since it's good and interesting and full of flavor at the beginning, the fact that it stays that way is definitely not a disadvantage. If anything, I would say it's an advantage. What you taste is what you get, but what you get is pretty damn good. I think this is an excellent cigar. What I'm finding as I get closer to the end of it is that the spiciness picks up a little bit, not too much, just enough to keep you interested in guessing, but the baseline flavor that the cigar delivers really is excellent. So that's the story. I'm going to let it go at that. I'm not going to bore you, short and sweet. The cigar is excellent, but the combination is great. The combination is absolutely great. And given that Altatis is the biggest cigar company in the world, you can look forward to A, a very well-constructed cigar, and B, a very, very consistent cigar. When you make as many cigars as they do, their control over quality and, most importantly, consistency is absolute. And now, while I move ahead into the final portion of this cigar, I'll remind you, smoke often and smoke happy, in case you needed to be reminded. Take it easy. Enjoy. Goodbye.